The story begins in a town where many girls had gone missing. A man walks into a cafe and orders a winter mint-flavored cheesecake to go. This man has an old van parked outside. The inside of it is absolutely filthy. He drives the van far from town to a remote, isolated location. This man is none other than the kidnapper of those missing girls. He brought this cake specifically for Grace, a girl he's currently holding captive. Grace tells him she wants to go back to her dad. The kidnapper responds coldly, saying her father doesn't love her. He claims her dad isn't even trying hard enough to find her. The kidnapper says he drove 20 miles just to get her this cake and insists she eat it. But suddenly, a police officer attacks him from behind. The officer turns Grace's face away and killed the kidnapper. The police officer then takes Grace in the kidnapper's van itself and drops her off outside her house. He waves goodbye to her from a distance. Grace rings the doorbell. Her father, Edward, opens the door and is overjoyed to see her. Grace is extremely hungry. Edward quickly gives her something to eat. He calls Officer Maddie and tells her that Grace has returned home on her own. Maddie immediately instructs him not to change Grace's clothes. She tells him to bring her to the hospital right away. At the hospital, Grace is examined. Her clothes are collected as evidence. Fortunately, Grace is completely fine. The next day, police question Grace about what happened. Grace tells them that a cop saved her. The officers are shocked to hear this. Maddie asks if this cop dropped her home in his own car. Grace says no. He brought her in the kidnapper's van, and that van is still parked outside their house. The police head straight to Grace's house. Maddie is confused. How could a girl who was kidnapped for 15 days just show up at home like this? And who was this secret cop that none of them knew anything about? They arrive at Grace's house. The van is still sitting there. The officers draw their guns and approach the vehicle cautiously. But the van is completely empty. They run the plates and trace the van back to its owner's address. They head to the location. The address belongs to the kidnapper, and he's lying there dead. Maddie calls Edward and informs him that they've found the kidnapper's body. The police discover his name was Will Rave. He'd been married twice. His second wife died from complications during childbirth. Maddie tells her officers to search the property for any graves. The officers find the grave of the kidnapper's wife. And then they discover what they feared most. Buried in a circular pattern around her grave are the bodies of 4 children. So this was their town's wanted kidnapper. But now the main question remains, who was that cop? Maddie goes to the cafe where the kidnapper bought the cake. She requests the CCTV footage. Maddie calls Edward and tells him they need to question Grace a little more about the cop. Edward is against this idea. But Maddie insists it's necessary. They show Grace photographs of all the cops in the area, asking if any of them is the one who saved her. Grace says no to every single photo. Maddie pulls Edward aside and tells him they need to take Grace to that cafe. She explains they don't know anything about this random cop. He could even be William Rave's accomplice. They have to find him. They all go to the cafe with Grace. But Grace doesn't recognize anyone there. They're about to leave the cafe, disappointed, when Grace spots a photo of a cop hanging on the wall. She says that's him. That's the cop. Maddie says, "You mean Jim?" The cafe owner starts asking if everything is okay. They all step outside the cafe. Edward asks who this officer is. Maddie tells him that Jim died in this very cafe a year ago. Grace must have seen someone who looked like Jim, not Jim himself. But at exactly 2:35 in the morning, the lights in the station turn red. A CCTV footage appears on Maddie's screen, showing the van closing by itself. Maddie follows the flashing red lights downstairs. Every screen in the police station is playing the same CCTV footage. Meanwhile, Grace sees Jim standing right in front of her. Maddie also sees Jim in front of her. Both of them run away in fear. Maddie gets in her car and drives off. Grace goes to her father and asks if she can sleep with him. She tells him the cop, Jim, is in her room. Edward puts Grace to bed. He goes upstairs to check her room himself. And Jim is standing right behind him. The next morning, Maddie wakes up in her car. She texts Edward, asking to meet him. Maddie is losing her mind after watching that video. She tells Edward everything and shows him the footage. Edward says Grace couldn't sleep in her room either. Last night she was saying she could see Jim. When he went to check her room, he felt a presence. He saw something like a shadow. The scene shifts to a girl named Nia. Her mom was supposed to pick her up, but she got stuck in traffic. Nia's mom says sorry, but you'll have to walk home. Nia says it's okay, no problem. But on her way home, someone starts following Nia. It's a kidnapper. He kidnaps Nia right there. Nia's mom files a report with the police. But Maddie says her daughter is a teenager and it's only been a few hours. Maybe she's just mad at you for not picking her up. But Nia's mom doesn't think so. Nia spoke to her very lovingly on the phone. Nia had a phone with her. It wasn't allowed at school, but her mom gave it to her for emergencies. The phone was turned off shortly after Nia left school. Now, if no one else knew about Nia's phone, then Nia must have turned it off herself. Maddie doesn't consider this case a kidnapping. But Nia's mom insists her daughter has been kidnapped. She says she's heard about those other girls who were kidnapped before. Maddie tells her that kidnapper is no longer on the streets. And he mostly kidnapped white girls. Maddie asks Nia's mom to wait. For now, they can only call Nia's friends. But by the next morning, there's still no sign of Nia. Police have spotted a black van on CCTV cameras. Nia was either kidnapped in this van, or she knew the van's driver. Maddie asks Nia's mom about Nia's father, Lamar Thompson. She tells her that Nia's father died of cancer 3 years ago. Maddie still believes that Nia's phone was switched off very soon after she went missing. That means the kidnapper knew about her phone, or Nia did this herself. Hearing this, Nia's mom gets angry. She says you still don't consider this a kidnapping case. My daughter is out there in danger. She asks, why does it matter if she knows the person or not? Meanwhile, the man with the black van has Nia locked in a room. He tells her that if she listens to everything he says and behaves well, he'll let her go without hurting her. The scene shifts to Grace's house. Her mom has returned home. Just then, Edward gets a call from Maddie saying another girl has gone missing. They need to talk to Grace. But Edward says now isn't the right time. Grace's mom just came back today. Edward tells Grace not to mention Jim to her mom. Meanwhile, Nia's mom makes a plea through the media, asking the kidnapper to please return her daughter. The media asks the police chief that if the previous kidnapper is dead, then who is this? The police have no information about it. They speak with Nia's school officials. It comes to light that Nia's name has been changed in the school records. Her previous surname was Davis. This means Nia's mom, Safia, had another husband before Lamar Thompson, who is Nia's father. Safia gave the police a false statement. Maddie goes to Safia's house to ask her about this. It's revealed that Nia's biological father was Tyrell Davis. He's the same person who killed Jim in the cafe a year ago. Safia was afraid that if the police found out, they wouldn't put in full effort to find her daughter. She begs Maddie not to tell the press about this. Meanwhile, Grace's mom apologizes to Edward. She had left Edward and run off with a friend. But in their partying, they bought some pills. Her friend died right after taking them. Grace's mom was terrified because she had put the pill in his mouth. But then Jim appeared there. He gave Grace's mom plane tickets and told her to go home. Edward says, "I am glad you are back." At the same time, the police chief is furious with Maddie. He asks how they could miss such important information. He says he's very disappointed with her investigation. Maddie brings up the Jim connection. The chief snaps back, "Do you hear how you sound? Don't come to me with this ghost crap. You have 7 days. If you don't solve this case, I'll have you transferred out of here." Maddie heads to the cafe. She talks to the owner about the night Jim died. The cafe owner explains that Jim was a regular. That day, he also came in through the back door to use the restroom. But at the same time, Tyrell Davis bursts into the cafe. Tyrell takes all the cash from the owner and even takes the ring off his hand. Jim sees all this from behind, but Tyrell shoots him. Even after firing a couple of shots, Tyrell doesn't leave with the money. He taunts the wounded Jim to pick up his gun. Then Tyrell shoots Jim in the face, killing him. Maddie asks the cafe owner, Mason, "Have you seen Jim since that night?" Mason says, "Can you handle the answer?" He tells her Jim died at 2:35. And one day, at that exact time, Jim appeared to him. At first, Mason couldn't believe his eyes. But Jim spoke to him. He said, "I am not doing so well. Jim felt guilty that his wife, Olivia, never got to say goodbye to him. She never got to see Jim's face. His face was completely disfigured by the gunshots. Jim said, "She deserved to see my face before they buried me." Maddie asks Mason if he thinks Jim could have saved that girl, Grace. Mason says Jim is capable of performing miracles. He explains that his cafe was running at a huge loss. It was about to be sold. He told Jim about this. Jim said, "I'll take care of it. You just accept my hand and put up my picture on the wall right there." As soon as Mason did that, his cafe started to flourish. Maddie goes straight to Edward with all of this. She tells him the cafe owner has also seen Jim. He's saying Jim has the power to do anything. Edward says he's telling the truth. Edward reveals that he also met Jim that night. Jim offered him anything he wanted. Edward wanted his wife, Kelly, to come back to him and become a caring mother. Jim granted his wish. But in return, Jim took something from Edward. Something Edward doesn't tell Maddie about. Maddie says, "I want to meet Jim. I need his help to find the other girl." Edward tells her, "Come to my house at 2:30 in the morning. We'll see if Jim wants to meet you." After this, Maddie meets with a priest and asks him if ghosts are real. The priest says he believes in both God and ghosts. Maddie tells him, "There is a ghost who helped rescue an abducted girl, and now another girl's gone missing. And I am supposed to meet him tonight to take his help." The priest advises her not to take help from the ghost, because ghosts are forbidden to us. He says, "And you must not forget that they are ghosts because they disobeyed the command of God when God asked them to leave this place after their death." That night, Jim is waiting for Maddie. Edward tells her from downstairs to go up alone. Maddie goes up and meets Jim. The scene shifts to the next day. Maddie goes to Nia's house and asks her mom for a younger photo of Nia. She says, "I know where Nia is. Just give me this photo." After this, Maddie goes to a store and asks for the last 10 days of CCTV footage. She gives this footage to her partner, Parker, telling him to check if any black van passes through. Maddie gets ready herself and goes to the law enforcement center. She meets Tyrell Davis there. She tells him about Nia going missing and shows him Nia's childhood picture, from when Tyrell was still with Nia and Safia. Maddie asks her questions and leaves. Meanwhile, someone calls Nia's phone, asking if this is Nia Thompson, then hangs up. Just then, Maddie gets a call from Parker saying that in the security footage, the van passes by every day at 10 o'clock. Maddie sends Parker the store's location. He starts searching around the store area. Following the direction the van goes, they find a closed motel. Maddie says, "We should look into it." Parker finds a burner phone in a trash bag there. Maddie says, "Call for backup and wait for me." Meanwhile, Tyrell pulls out a knife he had hidden in his cell. At the same time, police arrive at the motel. Inside, they find Nia, completely safe. Nia is reunited with her mom. The police chief also praises Maddie, but the job was only half complete. They still need to find answers to everything else. Just then, Tyrell commits suicide in his cell. Parker finds a document with information about Maddie and Tyrell's meeting. Parker checks and confirms that Tyrell is dead. He realizes something's not right. Making an excuse, he takes Maddie's car keys and searches her car. He finds Nia's childhood photo there. There's something written on the back of the photo. Parker goes to the store and asks if she told them what led her to this place. But the store manager doesn't know anything about it. Parker calls Maddie to lunch, saying he needs to discuss something important. Maddie arrives at the cafe. Parker says they found both girls, but the kidnapper is still out there. And I think somebody from the inside is helping them. He tells her he checked her GPS. She went to that motel the day before as well. "Who gave you that address?" Maddie says, "Jim." That night, Jim gave Maddie the girl's address. But in return, he asked Maddie for a favor. He said, "You have to accept me." Maddie accepts Jim as her only ghost. After that, downstairs, Edward gave Maddie the address. Maddie now says that Jim can do anything. Parker shows her Nia's younger photo and points out the note. "This is your handwriting." So Maddie tells Parker the whole story. First, Jim asked Edward for something in exchange for granting his wish. He said, "I want Tyrell Davis dead. It's not that I can't kill him, but what's the point of helping you if you don't help me back?" So at Jim's request, Edward kidnapped Tyrell's daughter, Nia. And Maddie, following Jim's instructions, went to Tyrell with Nia's photo. On the back of that photo was a secret note saying if he wanted Nia to live her life, he should end his own. The call that came to Nia was from Tyrell himself. He said, "I'll do whatever you want. Just let her go." Parker says he has to report all this to the authorities. But Maddie tells him Jim has also cured his stage 3 cancer. Parker doesn't believe it because he hadn't even told his wife about his cancer. His reports are still lying in his car. Maddie tells him to go get tested again tomorrow. The next day, Parker's cancer is completely gone. The doctors think Parker's previous report must have been wrong. He doesn't have cancer. After this, Parker also goes to Edward's house. He goes upstairs and meets Jim. Jim tells him the same thing. "Accept my hand. Accept me as your only ghost." So it's revealed that all these people sold their souls to Jim. And with that, this story comes to an end. Let us know in the comments how you liked this explanation. And don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel.